Some of my friends told me that if I could do some tutorials when it comes to my photography, so here it goes. Before I jump into techniques, before I jump into hacks, I have to learn first, of course, the basic things if you want to know about photography or if you want to know videography. So first off, I admit that I'm not really a pro level kind of guy, photography guy, but I believe that I am now in a position to teach or to talk to you about things that I know about photography. I have been into photography for about a year now, and of course I want to share to other people the things that I know, and this is of course the basic of photography. In this video, I want to focus first on the ISO. So why we should learn about ISO? So if you notice that your camera, especially if your camera has the capacity to do a manual mode, there is an ISO setting there. Have you ever wondered what is an ISO for? So the ISO stands for nothing. It's not an acronym. ISO came from the Greek word ISOs. Actually, ISO is not really the correct pronunciation. The correct pronunciation of ISO is ESO. So instead of I, you're going to say that as an E, so ESO. But of course, me myself, I'm used to call it as an ISO, so I'm just going to stick on an ISO. So when you say ISO, that is the sensitivity of your camera sensor to the available light within the frame. In your camera, well, just for example, I have here my camera. So my camera scales from 100 to 12800 ISO. So now, how does ISO affect the exposure? ISO is one of the three determining factors of exposure of your photos, along with the aperture and shutter speed. These two affects the lens and exposure times, respectively. But with the ISO affecting the sensor, to be more specific, the ISO determines how well exposed a photo will be by changing the sensitivity. So ISO is actually very easy to understand. The lower the number, also the lower the sensitivity to the light. The higher the number or the higher the value of the ISO, also the higher the exposure or the sensitivity of the light of your sensor. So now, how does the ISO affect the quality of your photos? As a general rule, the lower the value of the ISO, the finer the quality of your photos or your videos. Just remember, low number, low sensitivity, fine quality photos or videos. So now, to best demonstrate how the ISO affects the quality of your photos, here are the photos. And my model is this one, the bear. As you can see, the higher the number, the stronger the noise becomes. Now, when are you going to use a very low ISO and a very high ISO? Your photos will have the most details and the best quality. Great for shooting in daylight, as well as no need to boost the ISO any higher. Shooting at 1600 in bright conditions would be a waste, as this will result in the presence of easily avoidable grain. In 200 to 400 ISO, the slightly darker conditions such as in the shades or indoors where it is brightly lit. In 400 to 800, it is likely to use this range when shooting with flash indoors, as it helps to produce a more even exposure with a detailed background. For example, you want to use a flash indoors, right? But sometimes your flash is going to focus only on the subject and then not to blur up the background, but it darkens the background. So it's very beneficial to use a slightly higher value of ISO so that the flash will not darken the background. Now, ISO 800 to 1600, even photographers frequently have no choice but to use this range, as live events often happen in low light conditions where flash is not allowed, especially if you are on the church. ISO 1600 to 3200, again, event photographers will use this range for live gigs, but it's also used as in extreme low light conditions where using a tripod is not an option. ISO 3200, this range is actually reserved for a very low light or even no light at all. It is impossible to avoid grainy result in this range, but sometimes I do that, right, just for fun. Especially if you are inside the bar, you don't want to use flash inside the bar. So what I do is that I even go up to the 3200. Sometimes I go up to 6400 or even 12800. You know what, guys, photography is all about stealing the moments. It's all about capturing the moment. It's all about having fun of doing it. For me, actually, when I do some photography, I even add grains to my photos in order to make it more dramatic, in order to make it more some kind of a nostalgic kind of effect. So don't be afraid to try anything. Learn all the basics and then try it. There's no harm on trying all those stuff, especially if you are just starting, right? Because if you're going to fail on the first try, then don't do it again, right? Try another. Okay, because failures are going to be your friend. Not your friend, of course. Failures are going to teach you, of course, just like in life. Failures are going to teach you. You have to be more intelligent. You have to be more smart on doing things, just like in photography, right? You have to try everything first before doing the right stuff. That would be all for now, guys, and thank you very much for watching, and see you again on my next video. So on my next video, I will be talking about the aperture. So if you like my video, please don't forget to hit like and consider subscribing. Bye bye.